Hello and welcome to another ZIVA VFX tutorial. In this video we're going to be looking at making attachments. So there's actually a couple of different types of attachments in ZIVA, but today we're going to be looking at fixed attachment types. So what I'll do is convert this bicep object here to a tissue just quickly. So ZIVA add tissue, and you'll see as well that I have some ZIVA bones already in here, and they're being driven by this alembic via a blend shape. And as you can see, when I play it back, the bicep doesn't follow along with any of the bones because we basically haven't told it to. There's nothing connecting the objects together. So what I'll do is select a couple of vertices here at the end of the bicep, and then I'll shift select the ZIVA bone object, and then under the ZIVA menu I'll come down to add simulation component, and this time I'll select attachment. And you can see for every vertex that I had selected, it's looked up the closest point on surface on the target object, which in this case was the humerus, and we've got these red draw points here between those 2 points. If you look in the channel box as well, you'll see that we have a new node, this Z attachment node, and it has some attributes here which we'll talk about in a minute. But for now I'm going to go ahead and do the other end of the bicep. So with some vertices selected, shift select the target object, and then again ZIVA menu, add simulation component attachment. And so now when I play this back, you're going to see that the bicep's going to kind of be dragged around by the bones. Cool. So just to show that this is all kind of non-destructive, I can go ahead and I can make adjustments, say, to the size of the tets. So I could change this to 4, for instance, and then I haven't had to rebuild anything to do with the attachments or any other part of the system. So if I play this back now, you're going to see there's a bit more curvature in the bicep. It's still, pretty droopy, but we'll address that in a minute. Okay. If we drill into this attachment node here, you can see if we come down, there's actually 2 attributes which refer to stiffness. These 2 values end up multiplying together to give the final stiffness value. So because the values you're working with in ZIVA can vary quite widely, we thought it'd be kind of useful to have the exponent separated as its own attribute. And what that means is, you don't have to manage 8 or 10 or 6 zeros in the channel box, so it becomes a convenience thing. So the default is 1 times 10 to the 8, and I could make this, say, 10,000 times weaker by changing it to 1 times 10 to the 4. So you see that the attachment now isn't strong enough or isn't stiff enough to pull the objects back together, back to where they were at rest. And while this isn't particularly useful when you're working with origins and insertions for muscles and bones, there are applications for having weak attachments like this, and we'll address those in later videos. But just to show you that those are there for now. Cool. I'll just turn that back to 10 to the 8 again. So another thing you can do with attachments is once you've made them, you can still edit which vertices are attached after you've made it. So a lot of things in ZIVA are actually paintable. So if I right click on the source object and come all the way down to paint and then Z attachment, and then Z attachment 1 was the first one that we made. So if I select this, you're going to see a grayscale map come up, and you can see for every vertex that I had selected initially, we've got a value of 1 here, and then a value of 0 for everything else. And if I bring up the artisan tool and replace this as 1, you can see we can add attachments after the fact, non-destructively. So a cool feature is that it doesn't have to just be 0 or 1. It'll take a grayscale value or a float anywhere between 0 and 1, and you get this nice kind of draw feature where grayscale values are multiplied against the transparency of the proxy pair, which is kind of cool. So when I jump out of Artisan, you can see where the grayscale map is painted, which is kind of useful. Okay, so that's pretty much it for fixed attachments for this video. In the next video, we're going to look at sliding attachments. Okay, thanks for watching.